We've certainly had some very good animated films this year, like Inside Out 2, but this one is the cream of the crop. Let's talk about The Wild Robot. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for The Wild Robot. This is doing great business in theaters right now. It is pretty much the only family-friendly option, I guess. Now that we're in the Halloween spooky season, there's, things like, The Joker 2 and Terrifier and all that that are in theaters. But in any event, it's doing very, very well at the box office, and with good reason. I think word of mouth is strong on this. It comes from a popular book as well. That usually helps. And it's got the look and the feel of a Pixar movie when Pixar is really at its best, tugging at those heartstrings. But it's DreamWorks. This is the best DreamWorks movie in at least a few years. So look, before we launch any further into The Wild Robot, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you are one of my subscribers already, thank you so much for returning. Always love having you back to the channel. But if not, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Or just like this video, comment below, all that stuff certainly does help the channel out. All right, so this was directed by Chris Sanders, who I was unfamiliar with, but I looked him up, and he's got a rich history with animation going back almost 40 years. He created Stitch for, he actually created it way before it came to Disney with Lilo and Stitch, but he created the character Stitch in 1985, eventually brought it to Disney, wrote the story for that movie, and has voiced Stitch in just about all of his appearances. And look, I've not seen Lilo and Stitch. I know it's one of my Disney blind spots. There's a small handful of the popular animated Disneys I have not seen, but that's one of them. But obviously, I'm familiar with the character and certainly how popular Stitch is. So that's very cool. But he also has directed or co-directed The Croods, How to Train Your Dragon, the first one. That's talk about peak DreamWorks. That's certainly in the conversation. And the movie The Call of the Wild a few years ago. So look, he is definitely, he knows his way around an animated film for sure. So this is based on the 2016 novel, also called The Wild Robot. And it's about Roz, who is voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, who is a service robot shipwrecked on an uninhabited island who has to adapt to her surroundings and build relationships with the local wildlife. And she ends up becoming the adoptive mother of an orphaned goose called Bright Bill, voiced by one of the kids from Heartstopper, Kit Connor. He is an orphaned runt goose who ends up being raised by Roz. You also have Pedro Pascal as Fink, who is a red fox, kind of, this is the only thing in the movie that I thought was maybe a little derivative. He's sort of like the fox character Jason Bateman plays in Zootopia. But look, foxes are sort of, their reputation is, the sly fox, they're sort of tricksters and hucksters. So it's I can't say it's really mimicking something from Zootopia. The character is very, very similar, but foxes sort of have that quality that is sort of surrounds them. So all right, we'll let that go. But you also have Catherine O'Hara, Bill Nighy, even Mark Hamill getting involved here. Ving Rhames, Stephanie Sue. So a lot of big names here. This movie is just, it's fantastic. It's gorgeous to look at, for one thing. DreamWorks, look, I don't know if they've changed animation houses over the years, but, obviously the CGI animation has gotten so much better since the days of the early DreamWorks projects like Shrek, the Prince of Egypt, stuff like that. But they really changed the game with that first How to Train Your Dragon. If you were lucky enough to see that in 3D at the time, 3D was very, very popular. You had Avatar, Alice in Wonderland, both huge 3D movies. But if you were lucky enough to see How to Train Your Dragon in 3D, it's still to this day, the best animated 3D film I've ever seen. The soaring scenes were just fantastic. And DreamWorks did that. That is one of their properties. And so, they've kind of taken that, and this movie looks beautiful. And there's flying scenes here as well, as Roz is kind of teaching Kit to fly. And so we do see him kind of go up and down and all of that. But there's a lot of sort of action sequences as well involving Roz, involving weather elements, involving the wildlife population. So, it gets that right too. That looks really, really great and harrowing and exciting, and all of that. And so, look, I've had my little ups and downs lately with Pixar, but this feels like a Pixar movie. And How to Train Your Dragon, probably did as well at the time, I guess. But at the time, Pixar was still churning out really, really high quality films. Nowadays, a little bit more mixed. Inside Out 2 was very, very good. That was a good return to form. But, the three or four before that, left me a little bit colder than some of the other Pixar stuff. The emotional heft of this movie is very much in that vein. It's definitely a tearjerker, I think. If you're if you're able to cry at animated movies like I am, you kind of feel these as real people like I do. Roz is, for all intents and purposes, a fully formed human type character, and we see this as she learns about her surroundings and everything, and learns more about life. We see her get emotional, and that's, look, it's a trope in a lot of sci-fi films because it works. We always want the the robots to eventually not rise up and kill us, but care for us and comfort us. And Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic here. I think this is her first voice role. I could be wrong on that. We of course know her from 12 Years a Slave. Is she an EGOT winner? She might be. Oh no, she's gotten a Tony nomination, but she is not a Tony winner. Okay, but she's got to be close. I don't know if she's ever done a voice. All right, she did. All right, The Rise of Skywalker. She did a voice. A couple of voices there. Oh, okay, so here's an actual, like, non Star Wars whatever, because that's a live action movie, obviously. But she was Rashka or whatever in The Jungle Book. Okay, well that was one of the more successful, I think, Disney animated to live adaptations that we had. So she did have experience there, but here she is the star, and she just kills it. And everybody doing great here. Pedro Pascal, he's a lot of fun. I love the way his career has been going, and he's really a lot of fun here. Ving Rhames, in the couple scenes he's in, it's kind of funny because he's of course the Arby's guy. So you expect him to say we have the meats at some point, but look, this is, for me, the animated film of the year. And now that they've pushed Across the Spider-Verse 2 to next year, I believe this probably should win the best animated feature at the Oscars this year, because it's so far and above every other movie that we've had before in the animated realm. It's really going to hit you in the feels. It's gorgeous to look at, and it's funny when it needs to be as well, and then harrowing when we get to those action sequences. So look, I leave Wild Robot with an A, not just for animated, but one of the best films of the year for sure. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time.